The secret economy inside prison. How inmates really make money. If you think money does exist behind bars, you're already wrong, and you won't last a week in here. The riot started over a pack of ramen. It was 2:17 a.m. when the first scream tore through Block C. Metal clanged against concrete. A body hit the floor. Then another. Within seconds, the entire wing erupted, men flooding out of cells, fists swinging, guards shouting orders no one planned to follow. By morning, 3 inmates were dead. The official report called it a dispute over contraband. But inside Grayford Penitentiary, everyone knew the truth. It wasn't about noodles. It was about currency. New inmate Marcus Hale learned it the hard way. He arrived 2 days after the riot, shackled, silent, and already marked. First-timers always were. The guards processed him like cargo. Fingerprints, a number, a cold stare that said, "You're on your own now." His cellmate, Darnell, didn't bother with introductions. "You got anything worth trading?" he asked, eyes sharp, voice low. Marcus shook his head. That was his first mistake. Because in Grayford, money wasn't paper. It was everything else. Ramen packets, cigarettes, prescription pills, even minutes on a smuggled phone. Every item had value. Every transaction had rules. And every rule was enforced by someone far more dangerous than the guards. The system was invisible, but it ran deeper than the prison itself. By his 3rd day, Marcus saw how it worked. In the yard, deals happened in plain sight. Coded language, subtle handoffs. A candy bar could buy protection. A favor could erase a debt, or create one. And debts were deadly. One inmate, barely older than Marcus, got dragged into showers for failing to pay. The guards didn't intervene. They never did, because some of them were part of it. Officer Klein stood at the edge of the corridor that night, watching too closely, ignoring too much. Marcus noticed the way certain inmates nodded at him, not in fear, but recognition. That's when Marcus realized something worse than violence was happening. This wasn't chaos. It was organized. That night, Darnell handed Marcus a single ramen packet. "Congratulations," he said. "You just got your first loan." Marcus frowned. "I didn't ask for this." Darnell smiled, slow and cold. "Doesn't matter. You owe now." Marcus stared at the packet, like it was a loaded gun. And when he finally tore it open, something slipped out, folded tight, hidden between the noodles. A small piece of paper. Not a note. A ledger. Names. Numbers. Payments. And at the top, a name that didn't belong to any inmate. A guard. Marcus didn't sleep that night. The ledger sat in his hands like something alive, dangerous, breathing, waiting. Names filled the page, stacked in columns. Debts, payments, penalties. But it wasn't the inmates that made his stomach turn. It was the guards. Not just one. Multiple. Officer Klein wasn't running the system. He was part of it. By morning, Marcus understood something most inmates took months to learn. The real economy inside Grayford wasn't built by prisoners alone. It was protected from the outside in. Darnell watched him carefully as the block woke up. "You saw it, didn't you?" he said. Marcus nodded. "Good," Darnell replied. "Now you've got 2 choices. You either pretend you didn't, or you become useful." Useful meant surviving, or disappearing. Out in the yard, the tension was thicker than before. After the riot, lines had shifted. Crews tightened control. New leaders stepped in where others had fallen. And somewhere in the middle of it all, the market kept moving. Marcus noticed how everything flowed through a few key hands. A tall inmate named Vargas controlled the food trades, ramen, canned goods, anything edible. Another guy, called Bishop, handled pills and prescriptions like a street pharmacist in a cage. But neither of them were at the top. The real power stayed quiet, invisible, just like the ledger. That afternoon, Marcus got his first task. Darnell handed him 2 ramen packets and a folded note. "Deliver this to cell block E," he said. "Don't open your mouth. Don't make eye contact. Just walk." Marcus hesitated. "What is it?" Darnell leaned closer. "Your way out of debt or your way into a grave?" The corridors felt tighter as Marcus walked. Every step echoed. Every set of eyes followed him. He passed a guard station. Klein was there, flipping through paperwork like nothing mattered. For a second, their eyes met, and Klein smiled. Not the kind of smile you give a stranger. The kind you give someone already caught. Marcus looked away and kept moving. Cell block, it was different. Quieter. Controlled. No shouting. No chaos. Just men who didn't need to prove anything. A hand reached out from behind the bars of cell 214. Marcus passed the items. No words. The hand pulled back. Done. Or so he thought. On his way back, alarm suddenly blared. Lockdown. Heavy doors slammed shut, sealing the corridors. Guards rushed past, shouting orders. Somewhere in the distance, a man screamed, cut short like someone flipped a switch. Marcus froze as two officers grabbed him. Wrong place, wrong time, one muttered. They dragged him down a side corridor, away from the noise, away from the cameras. His chest tightened. This wasn't protocol. This was something else. They shoved him into an empty holding room. No windows. No witnesses. Officer Klein stepped inside a moment later, closing the door behind him. Slow. Calm. Controlled. He looked at Marcus, then at his hands. You've been carrying things you don't understand, Klein said quietly. Marcus didn't respond. Klein stepped closer. That ledger you found, he continued, that wasn't an accident. Marcus felt the air leave his lungs. Klein's voice dropped even lower. It was meant for you. Silence filled the room. Then Klein said something that changed everything. You're not in debt, Marcus. He paused. You've been recruited. Marcus felt it before he understood it. This wasn't about survival anymore. It was about control. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Officer Klein stood inches away, calm, precise, like a man who had done this many times before. You've been watching, Klein said. Learning. That's rare in here. Marcus swallowed hard. I didn't ask for any of this. Klein smirked. No one ever does. He slid the ledger across the metal table. This place runs on three things: fear, debt, and silence. You've already seen two. Now you become the third. Marcus stared at the names again. It clicked all at once. This wasn't just a record. It was a map. Who owed who controlled what, who needed to disappear. And now he was part of it. What do you want from me? Marcus asked. Klein leaned back slightly, studying him. Movement, he said. You're new, clean, no enemies yet. You go where others can't. You carry messages. You balance accounts. Marcus shook his head. And if I don't? Klein didn't hesitate. Then you become an example. The door opened. The guards pulled Marcus back into the corridor. But everything looked different now. The prison wasn't just concrete and steel. It was infrastructure, a machine. And every inmate, every guard was a moving part. Days turned into weeks. Marcus adapted fast. He learned how to walk without drawing attention, how to speak without saying anything, how to deliver without being seen. The ledger grew heavier with every name he memorized, and the deeper he got, the clearer the truth became. The system didn't just exist inside Grayford. It reached beyond it. Money flowed through outside accounts. Families received payments they didn't question. Guards rotated, but the structure stayed intact, untouchable, until Marcus noticed something wrong. A name disappeared, not crossed out, erased. Darnell. Marcus confronted Klein that night. He's gone, Marcus said. No record, no transfer, nothing. Klein didn't look surprised. He served his purpose. Marcus felt something snap. He brought me in. Klein stepped closer, voice colder now. And you replaced him. The realization hit like a punch. Darnell hadn't recruited Marcus. He had been phasing himself out. This was never a network of loyalty. It was a cycle. People weren't promoted. They were recycled. That night, Marcus made a decision. Not to escape, not to fight, but to break the system from inside. During the next major transfer cycle, Marcus altered the ledger. Small changes. Numbers shifted. Names moved. Debts redirected. At first, nothing happened. Then everything did. Fights broke out over false debts. Trusted alliances collapsed. Contraband routes clashed. The balance shattered. And for the first time, the system showed cracks. Alarms rang across the facility. Another riot, worse than the first. But this time, it wasn't about control. It was chaos, pure and uncontrolled. In the middle of it, Marcus stood in the corridor, watching it burn. Klein found him there. For the first time, he looked uncertain. "You have no idea what you've done," Klein said. Marcus met his eyes. "No," he replied. "You don't." Because Marcus had already done one last thing. He didn't just change the ledger. He copied it. Every name, every transaction. And during the chaos, he made sure it left the prison. Days later, the outside world started asking questions. Investigations, suspensions, transfers. But inside Grayford, nothing really changed. New guards replaced the old ones. New names filled the ledger. And somewhere in a different cell block, a new inmate sat down, holding a single pack of ramen, waiting. Because the truth about prison isn't that it's broken. It's that it works exactly as intended. And if you made it this far, you already understand more than most ever will.